Welcome to another episode of Chakra Care for the Creative Soul, a show that supports busy light workers to care as much for themselves as they care for the world while birthing their dreams into a beautiful reality. To truly thrive in these rapidly shifting times starts with restoring the sacred to your self-care by getting back online with the divine so you can shine. Today's episode is all about choosing an energy worker, the pitfalls and red flags. And here to shed some light on this topic is a beautiful creative soul, Amethyst, who I've had the blessing of knowing for 20 years now. Welcome, Amethyst. I'm so happy and grateful that you're here.
Thank you so much, Polly. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's such an honor and a blessing. And I want to share more with the audience a little bit about your background because you've been playing in the field of energy work now for over 25 years. And your path began with Reiki and then branched out into quick pulse, reconnective therapy, matrix energetics, and matrix repatterning. You currently have followed the teachings of Charlie Goldsmith, one of the best living healers on the planet today. And you've also been a longtime resident of Cozumel, Mexico. And you love to swim in the ocean, practice Tai Chi, and eat a healthy diet most of the time.
It's all true.
Well, thank you. I mean, I've known you like I just mentioned for so many years, and I have so much respect for the work you do. You're such a sincere and genuine, energy worker and healing facilitator. You've been really devoted to your path and walking, from that place of service and just really wanting to illuminate and shed light on the places where people get into patterns that hold themselves back, and just you're so good at holding healing space for people, and you have a lot of loyal clients who keep coming back year after year after year. In fact, I know you're very modest. I hope you don't mind me mentioning this, but I want people who are meeting you for the first time to know that you've actually even won an award. Okay. And so and also, if I may be so bold, I also want to acknowledge too that one of the things I really admired about you over the years as well is that when they have the Ironman triathlons on the island in Cozumel, you've been also one of the people who's been instrumental in organizing a collaboration between the medical tent and the healers tent and overseeing a team of energy healers and workers to support the athletes. So really, you've shown so much leadership over the years, and I hope you don't mind me jumping in and spontaneously sharing that, because these are the things that whenever I think about you, you really inspire me. I respect you so much for all the work you've been doing because it's so genuine. You're the real deal.
Thank you.
After I have so many glowing things to say about you, and this is why I can't wait to hear, your thoughts on our topic today, because one of the things that, is happening right now, we're living through the shift of ages, and so many more people are awakening on the planet. And, just as we move through our 3D experience and their fears that we need to navigate and overcome, as people begin to awaken to being more than just a physical being, into an awareness that they are an energy being, a spiritual being, then there's a whole new host of fears, hesitancies, and doubts that can start to crop up because it's a whole new terrain. And, where is the edge of the pool wall to cling on to? And so there's a lot that emerges around discernment when it comes to who to turn to for guidance and for healing. And I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on that today. You have such an extensive background in working with people for so many years.
Thank you, Polly. One of the advantages, that might not be the right word, but I'll use it anyway. One of the advantages of having been an energy worker for so long is that I've been able to witness the progression of energy work. So there was a time I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or so, when there was just this explosion, this boom of people going into energy work, um, mostly from the heart, but also looking for a quick and easy way to make a living. And so they go to a weekend Reiki class and they go from not knowing anything to being a master in 2 days. And then they go out into the world and start making claims. I can do this, I can do that. This is an immediate red flag. So one of the things that I recommend to people, and there are exceptions to every rule, but one of the things that I recommend to people is to look for somebody with a few years of experience, because working with energy is self-work. You work on yourself first, you become as clear a channel as you can possibly be. You work on any addictions that you might have. You work on being a healthy individual on the physical level, on the mental level, on the spiritual level. So it's about working on yourself. So when you're looking for an energy work or a healing facilitator, you do want someone with experience, and you do want to sit down with them and say, tell me your story. How did it begin for you? And how has your journey progressed? And what you're looking to hear is, I started out here and I ended up after there's energy worker. You're not looking for somebody who says, oh, you know, I took this class and I knew it was for me and it felt right and it felt good. You want somebody who was really dedicated to this work, because it is not just about, oh, that sounds cool, I think I'll do that. It really has to be a calling. And beyond that, if you find somebody who feels they've been called to this work, that's great. If you feel like you're with somebody who's been chosen for this work, you've hit the jackpot.
That's really powerfully said, because those are the really powerful red flags. I mean, I feel like if people have a positive experience going for, you know, a healing session, it can make all the difference in the world. And if they perhaps end up finding themselves in a situation, you know, unaware that this person maybe doesn't have the years of experience behind them, then it can just cause people to shut down and not trust. And so this is a real, you know, unfortunate thing. And I think it happens to people where, you know, they open up and then these people out there who are not as truly committed to the path, or they have hidden motivations, then it's actually a huge disservice to people on the inner awakening path. And, you know, that leads me to another question, because in order, another powerful thing you mentioned was how important it was as a healer to be demonstrating your own inner work and your own progression. And so I'm really curious to hear how you care for yourself, and maybe some of the things you do. You know, what does that look like for you as someone who does energy healing work? How do you do your inner work, you know, to prepare and be that shining light for people who are looking for that support on their inner awakening journey?
Absolutely. I'm so glad you asked. So we care for ourselves on many levels, as I explained. There's the physical, the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual. Physically, I make sure I get exercise almost every day. I really enjoy swimming in the ocean, and get up really bright and early in order to get my swim in. I practice Tai Chi once a week with some friends of mine. that I used to go to a class with. That school has closed down, and we have continued for years now, meeting once a week to practice and maintain our level of calm, of it's a moving meditation. It's also a wonderful way to work on your balance and stability. And it's a great way to learn how to focus on the here and now and what you're doing. So Tai Chi is really important to me. And then I very carefully watch my diet. I try my best to eat healthy. I have a little bit of a sweet tooth that I battle. So I'm trying not to eat too much sugar, but staying hydrated is important. Eating healthy and eating regularly. And eating regularly means something different to everybody. So it's also about learning to listen to your body. For me, I eat a nice breakfast and I eat a big lunch. And at dinner time, I usually just have a piece of fruit and some nuts, not much at all. And so I end up going many hours without having a real meal until breakfast time. And that's what works for me. And I'm not prescribing that for everybody. Everybody's body is different. But listening to the body and trying to hear what is working and what really isn't, and stop doing the things that are not working for you. If you have difficulty with blood sugar, make sure that you have what you need on you at all times in order to regulate that. And just watch how you feel. When are you getting tired during the day? Do you need a 10 or 15-minute nap? Clue into those things, because your body has a wealth of information and is sending you messages all day long. So start tuning in and listening to your body. On a mental level, quiet time is really important to me. Solitude is really important to me. Again, it may not be to everybody, but I really need quiet space. I need time to just be by myself and not have to deal with other energies. So that's really important. Emotionally, I would say, I think that the most important thing that I do, and it doesn't always work, but there's a big difference between reacting and responding. So when something comes at me, it's pause, it's take a deep breath, instead of just firing back, instead of that automatic reaction. It's take a moment, drink it in. How does it feel in the body? Is there a way I can respond in a positive manner, even though I'm not feeling so positive, even though like I'm feeling attacked or something? Take a moment to respond rather than to react. And spiritually, I work on myself regularly in terms of doing self-Reiki, introspection. My swims are a very good time of day for me to think about my connection to nature, my connection to the universe, my role in the universe, what I've chosen for myself, what I feel I have been chosen to do. And it's been quite a journey, because it has taken me a while to come to that point where I do know in my bones that I have moved beyond it's my calling to I am chosen. And I've spent probably too many years being overly humble and to the point of denial. And I am finally comfortable coming forward and saying, this is who I am, this is what I do, and I really feel I've been chosen for this work.
Those words are powerful, and I'm so glad you brought that up, Amethyst, because I feel that is something that light workers who work in the energy healing field wrestle with. That is a sort of a stage of the journey for sure, because there, when you have that sincerity, love, and presence, there, along with it comes that humility. And there's this also with being, I think it's improving now these days in the sense that it's, in the one sense, like everything plays a role and serves its purpose. So the deluge of all these people hopping onto the healing art scene in one sense has made it more mainstream, in that sense. So, everyone plays a role in this dance, right? And so that's one way to kind of look at it. And at the same time, it's also, when people are looking to experience energy work, and you have someone who is a very powerful healer and because even whether we believe in past lives or not, there is this sense sometimes of fear of judgment of people, maybe on even a subconscious level, that maybe it's not safe to fully step forward and let it all hang out, and this is who I am. And so I like how you shared how you take care of yourself, you restore the sacred to your self-care, and it's in such a beautifully grounded way, because it's all about bringing it into the human experience and keeping this continuous flow and connection with the divine in the here and now, in your physical body, with everything, flowing and communicating, and the awareness of it in this time space reality. And how, with that awareness, when you're also at the same time talking about stepping out, knowing that you've got this commitment to your self-care it's really has helped to make it more possible through the process of trusting yourself, of knowing yourself, of honoring your self-care. It's made it possible now to be at this place where you can just kind of put your stake in the ground and say, I'm here, this is who I am, and I know, like, and approve of myself, and I know I'm committed. And we have a personal track record, with ourselves when we make these kinds of choices. And so what people might think or say out there becomes less important, because we're really clear, and those practices help us to stay clear and grounded and centered in our hearts and connected to spirit. So what you shared is I feel so helpful for so many people, because again, that can be a real stumbling block on the path, right? And so, well said. Yeah. Well, I'm so glad we're talking about the red flags today. And I know that there are other things that, there's so many things I could ask you about this. Um, what are some other important points that you want to bring to light about, working with an energy worker, or a healing facilitator? Because people also go by different names. They have different, like you mentioned, you're trained in Reiki and a number of other healing modalities. How can you, tell which person to go to, or you've met someone and you think they're the real deal? Is there anything else that people need to be aware of?
Well, I do want to mention the importance of getting a recommendation, a personal recommendation from somebody that you know and trust, who has been to a particular healing facilitator, has had a good experience. This is not something you just Google and find somebody somewhere in the world to work with. This is somebody who you really need to have some kind of connection with, even if it's 6 degrees of separation, that sort of thing. But find somebody in your life who has been working with an energy facilitator, and ask them who they go to, and ask them why they go to that person. So personal recommendation is very important. Then have a introductory session with them where you just sit and talk. And then you can find out if they're going to start making claims that perhaps are not something that they can actually fulfill. It's really difficult. There is no healing facilitator on the planet who can work successfully with 100% of the people on the planet. Charlie Goldsmith, who I follow pretty closely, he has estimated that he has success with about 80% of the people that he works with. And he always feels so badly when he doesn't get any results with somebody, but that just happens to be somebody that falls in the 20%. So anyone who claims that they have wonderful results with 100% of the people that they work on, that's just not true. Be aware of those kind of claims. You also want to kind of be on the lookout for healing facilitators that put down other forms of healing other than whatever it is that they do. So I have studied various healing modalities, and what I've done basically is kind of picked the points that I feel are common to all of these different modalities, and melded those most important points into the way that I work. And people will say, well, you know, you're not doing pure Reiki. You're right, I'm not. And most healers are not going to be working strictly with one particular modality. And there are going to be people who say, oh, well, if you're not working strictly with Reiki, then you're not pure or whatever. Be on the lookout for any negativity at all, because quite frankly, the energy all comes from the same place. The energy is a source of power that is benevolent. It is always working in accordance with your highest good. So you can call it by any name you wish, as long as the healing facilitator's intentions are pure, as long as they're working because they choose to be of service. And we'll talk about money in a minute, because that doesn't mean that they will do it for free, because they're doing it out of the goodness of their heart. But you want to make sure that they are doing it because they truly want to help. They want to help ease suffering on this planet. And that's what healing is all about. So watch out for those that build themselves up by putting others down. That's kind of a big red flag. Watch out for the claims that they make. Watch out for those who are new to healing. And again, there are exceptions to this rule, that are new and haven't done the work on themselves. When I first started with Reiki, I went through Reiki 1, 2, and Master. And eventually, after many years, I started teaching. And at the end of my Reiki 1 course, I would give all my new practitioners homework. And their homework was, for the next month, work on yourself a half hour every day. And if you can't find the time, set your alarm half an hour earlier, or do it every evening at nighttime. And if you fall asleep, you fall asleep. But make the effort to work on yourself every day for 30 days. And if you don't do the homework, don't sign up for my Reiki 2 class. It's about clearing the channel first. Make sure people are doing their own inner work before they lay a hand or send energy to you.
Those are all such wonderful, important points, because I know even when I was doing my magnified healing teacher training, that it was, you have to make a commitment for 3 months to be doing this every single day without fail. And even with my Reiki too, I spent 3 years driving to the opposite end of the city, after a busy teaching day. And then, and I also believe too, what you're saying is really important. I like that point about making sure that, you don't minimize if you hear someone maybe kind of, it's almost like a competitiveness, sort of saying that this one is better than that, and I've heard the arguments too about, oh, it's not pure Reiki or pure something if you mix and match, or this is why it's called a healing art, right? Because we're trusting
Exactly.
our own inner guidance. And, that's something in my own journey too, that I started really, I had a good teacher who really encouraged me to just, these are all tools and techniques. It's the consciousness behind the application of the tools and techniques, and how that person honors their higher guidance as a pure channel that's moving through whatever you want to call it, the source power or the highest guidance. The most important thing, and I like that you emphasize that, is being that pure channel, being, not having an agenda, because that's something I just want to touch on too, because I like the point you mentioned about the results. That is important, because there are people out there who make, lay claims to things that sound wonderful and almost too good to be true. And if someone's in a really vulnerable position, it can be very tempting to give all of our power away to someone to do the healing for us. And I know this is something, even before this interview, from time to time we've talked about, where part of healing is very much, we're holding healing space and we're a clear channel as healers and attuned. It's also up to the person seeking the healing to have a willingness, a readiness to be open to the possibility of healing, and not to be falling into that pattern of, you'll do the healing for me. Because just like we as any healer worth their salt does their inner healing work on themselves, healing is something that we say yes to. So it's participatory in the sense of just even our intentions and being willing to show up, and it's not a band-aid, right? So all of these things are so important. So wonderful, wonderful points. And you were mentioning something too about the money. That's something that's another interesting topic, because and I would say even a sensitive one, because there are many different points of view out there. What's your point of view on that topic?
I believe that if you are called or are chosen to do healing work, that a certain percentage, doesn't have to be 100%, but a certain percentage of what you do should be free of charge. Again, it doesn't have to be 100%. There is nothing wrong with charging for your services. We all have bills to pay. We need to eat. We need to care for our animals and our families. Perhaps not in that order, but that's the right order for me.
I know you love your cats.
Exactly. So there's certainly nothing wrong with charging, but at the same time, there should be an offering of your gift. And it may be just to people that you're close to. Like I frequently don't charge friends. I certainly don't charge my family. But also, especially during the pandemic, I was a little bored. And so I reached out and found some people that really needed assistance and really didn't have the money for it, and worked with them. And they've become good friends of mine. So yes, charge. If you're in a financial position where you don't have to charge at all, what a blessing, that's great. But if you absolutely need to depend on it for income, then set aside some time each day or each week or each month, but make it a gift. It's something that was given to you, and it is for you to give to others as well.
I love that. I think that's beautiful and very powerful. And I know in my own journey too, my heart has guided me at times to just, like you said, give it away. And even in my own practice, doing my magnified healing practice, and I asked them, would you like me to just the way someone might include someone in their prayers. Would you like me to send magnified healing energy to you? Because of course, and that's the other point we're going to get to about permission, is is that that's such a beautiful way to keep that creative flow. Because I believe abundance is about creativity. You know, when we get down to what's at the core essence underneath abundance, it's creativity. And creativity is about flow, and it's about circulation, and it's about, and if we're energy healers, and it's all about, you know, holding space and making it possible for energy not to be blocked but circulating, we also need to be living in alignment with that and circulating our energy, and how we both, you know, vertically but by staying online with the divine, and also horizontally out to the world. And that opens the channels of giving and receiving, because we're also broadcasting stations as energetic beings. That's what our chakras are, and our energy centers are all about. They receive information and they send information. So, and as healers, we're tuning into those centers. You know, you're doing that where there's that, you're picking up on, you know, subtle nuances and variations in the field, um, and and guiding people to notice what they're noticing too. So that brings us to that interesting topic of, because this is something that happens in the spiritual world too, spiritual communities and realms, is people with good intentions, you know, wanting to, you know, be out there and make the world a better place. I even sometimes see this in posts on Facebook and stuff like that, where when is it appropriate to say, oh, I'll send you healing energy? And when is, and it comes from such a loving, beautiful place, and when is it less appropriate to do so? So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, Polly, actually, I'm fairly strict about permission, because I get a lot of people who ask me to send energy to their sick mother, to their dog. Well, not well. We'll set animals aside for the time being, but they want me to send energy to somebody else, and I say to them, I need their permission. I need you to ask them. Well, they don't want to have that conversation with their mother because it's too awkward. If it's too awkward, then I'm sorry. The reason I am so strict about it is because energy work changes lives. It's not some airy fairy thing where, you know, you're just, oh, let's send out some nice energy. It is real. It heals the body and it heals the soul. I'm not saying it happens every time, but there is that potential. There is that potential to change lives. And you don't change somebody's life without their permission. There are cases of people who have their reasons for not wanting a healing. They may say, oh, I'm in pain, and but perhaps, okay, so I have two different examples, and this is not through personal experience. This is not any of my clients or friends, but here are two examples where healing is not going to take place because subconsciously the person who is asking for the healing really doesn't want to heal. And one is that there could be a financial stake in staying ill. They could be on disability. And if they all of a sudden or over a space of time become less ill, become more capable, become able to hold down a job, whereas they might not have been able to do that before, and they lose their disability as a result, maybe they would rather be on the disability deep down. The second example, and again, this is not, just in case any of my friends or clients are watching this, this is not from personal experience. But let's take an example where, let's say there's a man and wife, and the woman is not well, and the husband, since she has become unwell, the husband is really caring for her in a way that he had never paid attention to her previously in their marriage. And she likes the attention. She likes that he is showing affection and that he is caring towards her. And if she gets well, she might lose that. And so that may keep her in a situation where she prefers to not be healed deep, deep down. So permission is obligatory, whether it's for the person that you're working on or if they're asking for healing for somebody else, especially if they're asking for healing from somebody else. They need to have a conversation with that person and say, hey, I've been working with this healing facilitator and she's really made a difference for me. I'd like her to work on you as well, but she needs your permission. Would that be okay with you?
Yeah, it's respectful, isn't it? You know, to just respect people's boundaries.
It's not that difficult a conversation to have. If that's not their style and they say, oh gosh, you must be nuts, you say, well, you know, it's something that I do and it works for me. If it's not something you're interested in, then I totally understand. There's a way to have that conversation that's not so difficult. But to just say, I will explain one more example of somebody who did something that I took issue with. And he was posting about it in a healers group. And he said he was in a supermarket and there was a woman in line who had like a 2-year-old child, and the child was crying and crying and crying. And so he sent healing energies to the child. And the child stopped crying and wasn't that beautiful. And he was feeling quite good about himself because he had done this. And I said, and did you ask the mother of the child if it was okay that you sent healing energy to her toddler? And he said, no, it's, you know, it's just loving energy. You don't need to. And I said, yeah, you know, and he was a father of a couple of kids. And I don't remember exactly how the conversation went at the time because this was years ago. But if I were to have that same conversation today, I would say to him, remember when your children were 2 years old? Remember being in a supermarket and they were crying? Would you want a total stranger sending energy to them? Parents can be very protective of their children, and rightly so. Not everybody's energy is what you want to be raining on over their little ones. So with children, with pets, you ask for permission from the parents, you ask permission from the owners of the pets or the human mom and dads of the pets. You always ask. It's the respectful thing to do because energy changes lives.
I love that. And you know, it was making me think too that even if we're talking just on a sort of more conventional, I'm going to just be clunky here and say 3-dimensional, non sort of energy level, we wouldn't rush in and rescue, you know, someone's child from having a temper tantrum, you know, or crying or something like that, because again, it's respecting boundaries and just even on an energetic level, you know, sometimes it's that unhealed part of us that is it some part of us that's uncomfortable with the crying child that we want to make it better. And again, there's no judgment here. It's just a fine discernment. And you're reminding me of a lesson that came up years ago when I was first starting to teach and I was working in a special education setting. And I had a great department head at the time. And there was this one particular day where this one student was having a very difficult day. And all of us, with our hearts in the right place and good intentions, all wanted to rush in and sit beside the student and listen to them and put our 2 cents in and be there for them. And she called us out on our behavior. And I'm so grateful because that was at the beginning of my teaching career. And I never did that again. I learned from that situation because no, she said it in a non-judgmental, loving, and firm way. She guided us. She said, how many classes did that student get to today? Because every single one of you needed to have their moment in the spotlight with the student. That wasn't about helping the student, that was about you, and I'm so grateful she called me out on that, because I think this is where sometimes it's well intentioned and at the same time there's a blind spot, and there can be this either need to rescue or to make ourselves feel good about ourselves. And when we really are in that place of being a pure channel, it's not about us. It's just about being that neutral vessel through which the energy can flow and be guided to where it needs to go in the recipient. And there's a very big difference between holding healing space for someone and giving ourselves a pat on the back for healing somebody.
Exactly. You really nailed that one right on the head. And we all have egos. We're here on this planet in human form. Our ego is ever present. And it's so important to constantly check our motivation and say, am I doing this because I really want them to have an experience on this planet with less suffering? Or do we want to be the one that waves the magic wand over them and takes them to a better place?
That's so key, because I can see the temptation, right? Who doesn't want to be that person who's like, look at, look at
what I
that.
did.
Yes, exactly. It's so that can be so seductive. And one of my spiritual teachers said at one point, the ego is a sly fox, and I thought, and as we grow and expand, it gets even more sophisticated. I feel like it's very slippery, and there's even something, two teachers that I've been following for many years now, Shri and Kira, talk about when they call it the spiritualized ego, where we go from it's all about me to it's us versus them kind of thing. So we're the spiritual ones, and we're going to bless, those who sort of are bumping around in the dark with our gifts and talents and make everything better. And it's almost, I think, if I'm really real here for a moment, it's uncomfortable to say it and to hear it, but it's a stage we all have to pass through to some degree if we're completely taking an honest reflection on our own journeys. So that's why there's no judgment in it. It's part of the growing pains of expanding into the fullest expression of who we are. And the other thing too that kind of popped up in my mind as well too earlier on when you were talking is, and I love how you expressed it so well, is that we never know what a soul chose for this incarnation, what they came here to learn. And so say someone has a serious illness, and we make the assumption that surviving that serious illness is the end game, what they should want, right? And maybe, I mean, and even if they're not consciously aware of it, but they're on a soul level, like there's many reasons why people have the experiences that they do, and whether they become consciously aware of it or not, at the end of the day, projecting onto someone else what their healing should be, like what the end result of it should be, is also a red flag that we're getting in the way of the possibility of true healing taking place. Like sometimes, I remember Pamela Miles speaking about at the Canadian Reiki Association meeting one year, about working with AIDS patients in the 1980s in New York City, and how, I mean, there's an example of an illness that you're not going to recover from. So the Reiki was a way for working with people going through that experience to shift the relationship to the pain that they were experiencing. It wasn't about getting rid of the pain. It was about shifting the relationship that they had to the pain. And hearing that was very powerful. And so when we're, in that neutral space of holding, the infinite possibilities and letting the soul choose, and then trusting that whatever is unfolding is for the highest good. The other thing too, I'm just curious, is because I know you've worked so closely with people with various, illnesses and health conditions, and the whole thing with energy work too, I feel like, just to kind of, for those people who are maybe newer to this journey as well, just something that popped into my mind right now, the whole piece about, when we're in fight or flight, and what that does to the body versus when you have an energetic experience on the healing table, what that also does for the body. If you want to just speak to that for maybe a moment.
Sure. What my experience has brought to me, and it may not be the same for other healing facilitators, is that the energy work allows the body to enter that state where all the answers come.
I love that. I love that.
So, for example, I have a client who is a very wealthy businessman here in Mexico. And it surprised me that he was coming to me for a massage, and then I happened to mention that I do energy work as well. And I didn't have any expectation at all. But he said, oh, well, next time let's try that. And I said, okay. And so the next time he was in town, we booked a session for him. And I mentioned to him that it didn't always happen, but many of my clients could reach that state where the answers came. And he was very interested in that because he was juggling many things with his international corporation, and he had lots of unresolved issues that were going on from day to day. And I said, okay, well, let's go into the session with the intention that you reach that space where the answers will flow to you. And to make a long story short, he stopped getting massage from me. He only wanted energy work. And it was routine that when we finished the session, he would grab his phone, turn on the voice memo function. I would leave him for probably 10 minutes while he recorded all the answers that came to him during the session. And it can be answers to any question. It doesn't have to be something as 3D as business decisions. It can be answers to spiritual questions. It can be answers to how best to, the word is coming to me in Spanish and not in English, how to better a relationship with a partner. Any kind of question at all can be brought into that space where the body is relaxed, released, and that there's a flow going on. And we touched on flow earlier, and I wanted to give one more example of flow so that you can see and maybe feel what it is that I believe. And so one of the things that I believe, and we can have all sorts of silly beliefs, but one of the things that I believe is that if you find money on the ground, like a quarter or a 10 peso coin or whatever you find, You have to spend it immediately.
Oh.
You have to spend it or you have to give it away. But I prefer spending so that you get something for it, so that there's a continual flow of that kind of good luck, of that unexpected little trinket that has fallen into your path. In Mexico, $2 US bills are considered very lucky. And frequently my clients, well, not frequently, but occasionally I will get $2 bills as part of the payment for my services. And I make sure that they go right into my wallet. And even if I have to buy groceries with it, those $2 bills are on their way to somebody else immediately.
I love that. That's
It's
amazing.
good luck. It's, we keep the good luck flowing.
That's wonderful. I love that. And, I was just, as we come to a close, I was just feeling like that was such a beautiful bridge, literally, because, when we're talking about people awakening to their spirituality and their energetic being, this client who came to you for a massage, and I know you've had other clients similar to that, where they've come for the massage because that's sort of where what people can kind of understand and relate to. And then, of course, there's a natural, because you have been doing the energy work on yourself, I've noticed this when I go for massages. Not all massages are the same. If I go for a massage, I really want someone who also practices energy work giving the massage, because it's a different quality of massage, a different vibration, I guess. I don't know how else to describe it. And so what a lovely bridge to help people to realize that when they go oftentimes when people are coming for a massage, they're tense in their bodies, they've got knots, they've got like soreness and stiffness, and then the body relaxes. And then what a beautiful bridge to realize that when we're relaxed, when we're caring for ourselves in this way, and we can be still and quiet, and there's someone who knows how to hold space and and hold that frequency of energy that allows all kinds of clarity to be discovered within ourselves, then it's like what a natural and grace-filled way to begin to open up to we're so much more than who we think we are. And I love that. So it has been wonderful having you here today on the show. I've enjoyed this conversation thoroughly, and I know other people are enjoying it too. And I have a question for you. If someone would like to learn more about what you do or connect with you after the show, I know I've included a link below, but if you just like to share a little bit more about some of your offerings and.
Absolutely. So, excuse me, I am a massage therapist. I am trained in Ashiatsu, barefoot massage. That's doing the massage with my feet. So if you find yourself in Cozumel, treat yourself to a very reasonably priced professional Ashiatsu massage. So that's one thing. Also, of course, I have energy work sessions, also very reasonably priced as well, either in person or over the internet. So you can email me either through my website, which is www.barefootincozumel.com, and we can set up an appointment for that. If you would just like a little taste of my work, I have a Facebook page called Amethyst Healing, and on Amethyst Healing, Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. currently Central Time, because that's what Cozumel is on this time of the year. We do shift because we don't change our clocks, and the US and Canada does change as well.
We do, yeah.
There we go. Anyway, so Sundays, 10 a.m. Central Time, I do a live on Facebook on Amethyst Healing page that is partly guided meditation and partly an energy transmission. And so you can be part of the group, either on live or on replay. You can watch it at any time in the comfort of your own home, on your own schedule. And that is always completely free of charge.
And I just have to say, I've experienced all of the above with you. From your fabulous Facebook live stream, to the Ashiatsu. I think I was always calling it Ashiatsu. So I'm glad I've been able to correct that, tweak that in my vocabulary to the energy work. And really, really wonderful. And your workshops, because when I was there in March, I had the blessing of experiencing one of your energy workshops, and it was fabulous how you use the water to, demonstrate, the power of energy. That's just a little bit of a sneak preview, because if you're ever in Cozumel, I invite you to check out those workshops live for yourself so you understand more about all the interesting things that Amethyst does with water to ground it and make it accessible and interesting and fun. And so I just want to thank you from my heart to yours for being here. It's been wonderful connecting with you. And please, I invite, if you've been watching this and enjoying this, I invite you to comment and like this video and share it and let other people know about the wonderful offerings that Amethyst has, because together we link arms and we share our light with the world. This is how we're birthing the new earth together. So wishing everyone infinite creative blessings. Be well, beautiful creative souls. And until we meet again soon, all the very best. Lots of love and light.
A little chatting afterwards, and some of the stuff that came up is worth hearing.
You bring such a lovely quality to energy healing work, because you have this groundedness, and I think it helps people to feel really safe and to have that sense that they can trust themselves for having chosen to come to you, which is really powerful. I wish I'd said this during the interview, but there'll be more to come. There'll be part two.
I think it's so important, because one of my passions is to make energy work more mainstream, and bringing it into the Ironman medical tent is something I'm very proud of. So I am so glad that you brought that into the interview. There's not a medical tent in the world that I know of that has energy workers working on the patients. So it's super, but I really want it to be normal. I really want it to be another alternative to allopathic medicine. So we have acupuncture, we have homeopathic remedies, we have all sorts of things. There are just more choices, and energy work shouldn't be any less of a choice than the ones that are finally becoming part of mainstream, that are not way out there, that have thousands of years of success behind them. And people are now willing to turn to them when allopathic medicine, or even before they try allopathic medicine, but certainly when allopathic medicine is failing them. I think it does a disservice to the whole field of energy medicine to not be grounded, to be floating away and turning it into magic and airy fairy stuff. This is real. This is there's no question about it. You can feel it when a true energy worker is working on you. And as I claimed throughout the interview, it changes lives. So let's present it in that way, as something very serious, and not something that you only find being done by nymphs in the woods or something like that.
I love that you're sharing that.